So hello, everybody. I am Frank Clark with Startup Con Live and Frank Clark Consulting and Coaching. I'm here today with Andrew Davis of Monumental Shift.
Hey.
How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for our interview here today.
Me too.
And I'm going to tweet this out now to my folks and ask you to do the same, and anybody who is listening to the recording as well.
Yay, let's do it.
Post it also out on your Facebook. And I didn't realize this because I'm still relatively new to Blab, but when you hit the tweet button or the Facebook button, what it does is it takes like a snapshot or a 5-second video.
Oh, does it really?
Like multiple images of you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just learned that last week. We did a 3-day startup conference last week here on Blab.
How'd it go?
Oh, it went fantastic. We had 18 speakers all about startups, and the themes were day 1 was dream it, day 2 was build it, day 3 was launch it.
Wow, no kidding. That's cool.
Yeah, it was very exciting. So
that's really fun.
Thanks. So I'm really excited for our interview. We met actually here on Blab. I was watching a Blab with you.
Yeah.
Loved what you had to say and reached out to you and invited you to participate here today. So thank you very much for agreeing. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, sure.
So after we did the Blab together, I wanted to learn a little bit more about you and went and searched up your website and found the Meatloaf video, which was hysterical. I absolutely love the Meatloaf video. I think I mentioned on the Blab, I'm a rock and roll fan myself. I saw Meatloaf front row seats like 30 years ago.
That's funny. It
was hysterical to watch you talking about the transition from Meatloaf to Meatloaf.
Yeah, right. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's something I've been talking about for a long time. So it's nice that it still resonates with people. It's really a fun thing to do. That's for sure.
Now you mentioned in one of your other videos I was watching and I saw you do this on the Meatloaf video, and I think that's part of what made it so engaging, is how you believe in the power of engagement through high energy, fast paced presentations.
Yeah,
and that's so fantastically displayed in the Meatloaf video because you're going from thing to thing, and as entrepreneurs, I think we all appreciate like the ADD world that we live in here on social media and in the real world. And it just, you did a brilliant job on that. It's hysterical. So people got to go watch this thing.
Thanks.
So take us through how you put that together with, you mentioned you used Prezi, and I could see it was a Prezi slide presentation. Yeah. So talk about that and how you use that in building your brand in your speeches.
Yeah, well, I think in 2008 or 2009, I was looking for a better way to kind of embrace speaking. And I felt like the tools were hindering me, which is a really easy way of saying I was blaming the tools instead of focusing on my own performance. And I thought, if I just had the right tool, I'd be a much better speaker. And I decided that I'd, try it. So I went out looking for better presentation tools, and I ended up finding Prezi online. I was one of the first people to pay for an annual membership of Prezi in 2009, and I really fell in love with it. I committed to kind of using it. It's an infinite landscape. You can kind of put stuff everywhere and then zoom around to it. And it probably took me 40 hours to build the very first Prezi presentation I did, because it was really hard to get outside of that PowerPoint mindset. It was kind of, the problem wasn't the tool. It was just me rethinking what you can do in a presentation. And ever since I've loved it, and I use it every single day, essentially. I had Prezi opening just before we did this. So it's a really great tool. And if you haven't tried it, you can try it for free. You can use it for free, actually. You don't even need to pay for a pro account, but it's really an amazing tool.
Yeah, so I've looked at it and started playing around with it, but I, like many of us, got distracted and all of a sudden went onto something else, and then I keep seeing it bounce back. So that's what happened to me with Blab and with Periscope, and I finally ended up on Blab and fell in love with it, and now I'm on here, almost every day. So I'm sure I'll do that with Prezi as well.
Great. Oh, that's cool.
What I love about Prezi is it basically it's like a slideshow way of doing a mind map.
Yes, yeah, I actually build everything like a mind map. I just put in all the ideas I want to get across, and then I start organizing them into bigger and bigger kind of circles or frames, and then I path all the
Right.
frames to make one big unique story. Uh, and it really is kind of it's somewhere between a presentation tool and a mind mapping tool. I think that's a good
Right.
assessment.
So do you then do you start when you're mapping it out? Do you start on a piece of paper with a pen, or you start mapping it out right within Prezi?
Right within Prezi. So Prezi, the pro version of Prezi, the desktop version, actually has a thing called My Content, and you can save big chunks of content into a library that you can use anytime. And so I've saved literally hundreds of stories inside of Prezi, the tool, which means anytime I want to start a new presentation, I'll start thinking about which stories work, and I just kind of drag those onto the desktop so that I have like 50 stories or 30 stories, or sometimes it's just 5 stories, that these are the right 5 stories. And then I start trying to organize those within bigger concepts. And essentially I use a lot of, kind of pre-existing content that I've put together over time in Prezi to make every presentation. So it's like a library for me. It's really a great, easy way to do it.
Oh, fantastic.
But you have to commit, it's like any tool. You just got to say, you know what, I'm never using PowerPoint again, starting right now. Like uninstall it from your machine and just say, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I found with this Blab platform is somebody told me about it and I looked at it and I didn't really do anything on it. And then I saw somebody at a conference, right? Back in Philadelphia. I was speaking at this event in Philadelphia, and she's like, "Oh, you got to get on Periscope. You got to get on Periscope. Build your brand with Periscope. I can help you with Periscope, right?" And I'm like, "All right, Periscope. I took it back. I went to Periscope. I looked at it, and I didn't know what to do with it, right? So I talked to a friend of mine, kind of like your Meatloaf story. Right. Talked to a friend of mine who knows a lot about social media, and he's like, "Yeah, Periscope is great, but you should also check out this other thing, Blab. It's getting a lot of traction. It's like an up-and-coming thing." All right, okay, I put it on my list, and then one day I checked out Blab. I'm like, okay, Periscope, Blab. I said, let me do Periscope versus Blab. What's getting better reviews? Who should I go to? Then a month later, I'm speaking at another event, and I see the same woman who was telling me about Periscope, right? I said, yeah, I still haven't done anything with Periscope, but somebody else was telling me about Blab. She's like, oh, I love Blab. I'm moving everything from Periscope to Blab. Blab's the best.
Was that Jen? Was it Jen Posner?
No, Grateful Tony.
Oh, okay. Okay. Jen,
you know Grateful Tony?
No, but Jen did the same thing to me. Jen Lehner Posner did, like, she emailed me and was like, you got to get on Periscope. It's awesome. It's perfect for you. You've got crazy personality. You'll be great. And so I was like, all right, I'll check out Periscope. And she was like, yeah, let me Periscope with you and I'll show you how it works. So we did a Periscope. She was like, that was great. Like, you're going to be awesome. Keep doing it. And I just kind of fell off and didn't do much with it.
Right.
And then 3 weeks later, her subject line in her email was, forget Periscope, try Blab. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll try Blab now. So it was pretty funny. And then I did that. I think the last time we met was on Jen's Blab. She does one every Tuesday, I think, right?
Okay, yeah, I don't know, because I'm following a lot of people, but I don't, I gravitate towards certain people and I keep coming back to them. And it'll be just like this. It's like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Jen, okay, remind me of her name. Okay, great. I'll go back and I'll start following her.
That's great.
And then I'll start learning.
Do you attend a lot of Blabs, during a day, like 1 or 2, or how many?
So it depends on what's happening in my life. I have a very crazy life. I'm a multiple entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
So I like this one guy that I've kind of befriended here on Blab, Jonathan Tripp. He does a daily show at 10 o'clock, all about social media. And he does a lot with Snapchat and Instagram and Periscope. Sure. And, the reason I gravitated toward him is because I don't know anything about any of those things. So I learn a lot every time I go on his show. And then he keeps having me on and we have these great conversations. And because of that, he ended up working with me on Startup Con Live and helped as a co-producer. So we've already actually done like a kind of a business thing together with 3 other folks. And it's kind of developing as a relationship now.
That's great. That's awesome. So the Startup Con Live, it was free to attend, I guess, on Blab?
It was free to attend on Blab, and we put the whole thing together in just 2 weeks with people I've never met before that I've only met on Blab.
That's awesome. That's great.
And we had 18 speakers. It was we were freaking out at the time, just like trying to put everything together. It was like, So but it all worked out fantastic. And I'll send you the link. Here, I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to check it out.
But we're going to be doing a sort of a preview for what's next for StartupCon Live tomorrow at 11:30. So if you want to check that out, I'll put that in later too. But maybe we can have you on as a part of StartupCon Live 2016 as one of our speakers on presenting in social media, because I loved what you said in Prezi. And how I picked my speakers was I picked speakers that I'd already interviewed before. Yeah, so it makes it easier. I already have, you know, kind of a knowledge of what you're about and a relationship that we leverage on.
Yeah, smart idea. That's great. That's really neat.
So I want to come back, though. I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk more about you. And let's go back to, I want to go back to kind of like, and I like Genesis stories. Like, how did you get your start, you know, with what you're doing today in terms of speaking, presenting around the world? What was kind of like your first experience where you fell in love with like speaking and said, this is what I want to do?
Well,
or writing or what,
I mean, I've always wanted to be a content creator. So I grew up, you know, as a childhood actor, actually. There's a commercial, you can find it on YouTube, for Plascon Paint that I did in the 1970s. And, you know, I acted a lot as a kid. And then when I got to college age, I realized I wasn't actually that good of an actor. And maybe I'd be better off behind the scenes. And I decided I wanted to write or direct TV shows and movies and stuff. So I went to college for television and film and at Boston University in Boston. And then essentially took you know, that kind of career path for TV. And my first job was working at a local television station. I produced a call-in show for doctors, and I produced a call-in show, late night, like political talk show every night, 5 days a week. It was exhausting. And then I ended up leaving there and working for a company called VideoLink, which was doing satellite uplinks for the networks in the very early days of cable television. And then I left there and started working for the Today Show and producing for NBC and CBS and CNN and all sorts of other guys as a freelancer. Then I left that and got my dream job actually working for the Muppets. I used to work for the Jim Henson Company. And I was, it was awesome.
Fantastic.
It was a good experience. I mean, it was a hard time for the Jim Henson Company. It was rough for them. It was late 90s. Jim Henson died in the early 1990s. The company was kind of struggling. So they, you know, it was a time of like real cost cutting and kind of rethinking what the business was all about. And I was part of the kind of team that helped cut costs, which was never fun, and kind of rethink where we're going. So it was a tough job. And I, you know, although it was my dream job, I didn't end up loving the job. I stayed there about 2 years and left.
It's funny how that happens, where you get on a dream job and you finally get your dream job. And that happened to me. My dream job was to work on Wall Street, and I got my dream job working in Merrill Lynch in the best equity research department on Wall Street. And I was never more unhappy in my career.
You know, I think you build up in your mind like that your expectation is here, and then no matter how good the job would be, I mean, even if the job was great, it can never measure up to what you believed it was going to be. And I think that's what happened with me at Paramount with the dream job. So I just I left the Jim Henson Company. It was at the first .com boom. This was the late 90s. So I started working in marketing and advertising for a bunch of startups, which was kind of fun. And then I decided in 2001, I met back up with a guy I went to college with, a guy named Jim Costco, and we decided, hey, why don't we, get together and really build an agency. He was a journalist, so we started a marketing agency called Tipping Point Labs, and that essentially sold that in 2012. And since, as it pertains to speaking, in 2008, I started speaking for the agency to help generate leads. So the goal was, can I generate some leads by speaking? And that kind of spawned this, love of speaking and performing, and it kind of brought back the childhood memories and all the good stuff that I liked about creating television, all in one. Yeah, so it was fun. Right, it was really fun.
So from creating that agency, how did you move to being more more full-time speaking?
No,
Are
I
you
sold the
still
agency in
involved with that
2012.
agency?
Totally out, and essentially moving to full time really was just about needing something to spend my days doing. After selling the agency, it was like watch Judge Judy marathons and eat cereal all day. And my wife was finally like, "You got to get out of the house." And I didn't really want to start a new company. I didn't know what what I should do. I had this book called Brandscaping that I had just written, and decided I'd go out and kind of promote the book as part of speaking. And pretty quickly I ramped up to, 30, 40 speaking engagements a year, which is about what I do now, about 45 or something. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's certainly exhausting. The travel is exhausting. So that's yeah.
The travel is definitely exhausting. I did a lot of speaking on road shows when I was trying to raise capital for my startup at the time, medical device company, and it wears you out. Being on planes, airports, hotels, conference rooms, and then back to planes and airports.
I just started
again. It's just
because I've been traveling so much. I started writing these travel tips. I call them travel like Bond tips. That's my hashtag. And I started writing these tips on Twitter all the time, and people love them so much. I started writing little articles about them. Like the last one is all about burner phones, like why every business traveler needs a burner phone. So yeah, I mean the travel. It's just a little disposable phone that doesn't have a contract, or it's just like users prepaid cards. But I got mugged in Newark, New Jersey 2 years ago. In broad daylight, like it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a beautiful day, and these two guys just like basically beat me up and they stole my cell phone. And I realized, wait a second, I don't have a way to get in contact with anyone. There's no pay phones anymore. Like, how do I do this? So ever since then, I've started carrying a burner phone with me, and it turns out I use the burner phone a ton. Like, not just for emergencies, although in fact I've never used it as an emergency phone since then, but I use it for conference calls. I use it for all sorts of stuff. It's an emergency phone for I don't give out the number. So like my wife has it, very few people have that number. So if that phone rings, it's kind of like my bat phone. It's like, oh shit. So I go through some reasons everybody else should use it. It's kind of fun. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's a great tip. So I just posted the hashtag in the chat. People want to check that out. Travel Like Bond
and I
blog.
Posted a link to one of the last ones. Here's another one. I did an intelligence team in your pocket. That's another one. I just saw the latest James Bond movie. That ding is loud. It was the James Bond. Like James Bond travels so well. That guy, if he travels all over the world, he never has a suitcase and he never gets delayed. Like, that's why I want to travel like Bond. Every time I'm delayed, I think, man, how does he do that?
I want to say welcome to Laura and Alex. Thanks for joining. And if you have questions, you can type /Q space and enter your question to.
That's cool.
If you have a question for
I didn't know
Andrew
you could do that.
Oh yeah, /Q, and then it pops up on the left of the screen, and we can bring it in and.
I just did that. That's
talk
neat.
about the question.
That's cool. I just did that. That's neat.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, so it's a nice feature. And Blab for those of you who don't know, Blab is still in beta, so they're adding features and functionalities all the time. So last week I had an opportunity. We interviewed kind of the kickoff interview for our conference. I got to interview Furkan Ridhan, who's the chief technical officer for Blab, and they've got a lot of exciting things planned for this platform. So, yeah, some cool stuff to look out for. So, I want to talk about. You mentioned your book, Brandscaping. Can you tell us a little bit about that book? And I know you've got another book, Town Inc.
Yeah, sure. Brandscaping is the subtitle's Unleashing the Power of Partnerships, and it's basically all about leveraging the audience of others to get to the audience you want. So no matter what you sell, the one simple question you have to ask yourself is, who has my next customer as their current customer? That's it. So who has my next customer as their current customer? And as soon as you start thinking like this, you start finding these great opportunities to connect with people that you never thought of, who all of a sudden will feed you the next lead, the next new piece of business, the next customer for your product, no matter what it is. So it's a kind of interesting take on how to, you know, get access to your audience without having to buy it, essentially.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It really like you know the joint venture path toward building your audience, and that's kind of what we did last week at our conference. Is, you know, we all combine our audiences, and that's how we pulled it off.
That's exactly the concept. Like, get a bunch of people together who all have a common interest. They all have an interest in accessing the same audience, and they all bring value in their own unique way. That's where the value is found. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm all about, you know, and when I talk on these interviews, it's all about networking, and it's all about creating and adding value to the audience you're speaking to, whether it's a one-on-one with a client or customer, or whether it's a corporation or an individual, or whether you're going out in social media. It's like, how can I add value for the people who are taking the time to read my post or my blog, or, you know, watch a video or listen to a podcast? What value am I adding, and how am I going to make sure that their lives are a little bit better off for having tuned in and you know, consume my content on whatever platform?
So that's exactly what Brandscaping is about. Just kind of, how do you do that? How do you find the right partnerships? How do you make sure that they're long-term? So not just necessarily one interview like this one with you and I. How could we build a relationship that added value for both of us, you know, going forward and for as long as we can foresee? So, you know, it's a simple concept, but complicated, I think, a lot of times to execute in a way that benefits both parties. Like, it has to be a real symbiotic relationship to make it work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the world is changing so rapidly, especially with social media and what's happening online these days. So it becomes, you know, like, you know, if I hadn't tuned into that blab, you know, I hadn't run into you. I don't know if I would have run into you any other way. I might have eventually bought your book or something and reached out to you. But Blab has made it so much easier to connect with people and to create these kinds of things. I mean, all the others, Periscope and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter as well. I mean, I'm communicating with people on Twitter that I've never met, or, you know, I don't know if you know Jay Abraham. But I got a follow from Jay last week, and I was like, really?
That's awesome.
He's following me. Yeah, so I was ecstatic because I'd seen him 20 years ago at a Tony Robbins event.
He's great.
And, just like, really, wow, cool. That's cool.
That's good.
Yeah. But what becomes possible in terms of the connection, but you still have to add the value. You've got to find a way that you can create some kind of lasting value. So, you know, how can me and this other person do something that's going to create value for each other and create value for the audience, so that, you know, it becomes a win.
Yeah, I think if you think less and less about how does it add value for us, and just focus entirely on the audience, the rest becomes pretty clear fast.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the wrong partnerships start when it's just like, hey, what's in it for us? How can we work together to make sure we're both successful? Those kind of partnerships, for me, were never very effective. The ones where we said, hey, look, we both agree that we want to get to this audience. We both know we can add value to this audience. This is what they're concerned about and worried about and thinking about every single day. What can we do today to help them be more successful tomorrow together? And how do we both add value to make sure it happens? And that's when it really was successful. You know, and there are lots of stories in the book that kind of showcase how that works and what's effective. Oh, did I just lose you, Frank? Uh-oh. I just lost Frank. You guys still there? I hope you're still there. Frank, I just lost Frank. I don't know what to do by myself. Oh, I'm glad you're still there. Thanks. Thanks so much for telling me. But anyway, I have a copy of Brandscaping. Let me look up a quick story, and then I'll tell you one. Oh, hey, we can talk about hey, it's backwards. It's backwards for me anyway. That's it upside down. We can so here's a good story from Brandscaping while we wait for Frank to get back. But basically, Guitar Center and Converse, the shoe manufacturer, got together. They partnered together. Converse built a studio, an audio studio, to record songs, essentially. in a studio for free. Any musician in the world can go to Rubber Tracks, the studio they built in Brooklyn. They've built a bunch more now, and you can record for free for up to 2 days with an engineer. And they provide everything you need. And Guitar Center partnered with them to build this studio. And then these musicians from all over the world come here and go to that studio, record stuff. And all the Guitar Center and Converse do is create content together. So all of a sudden you have a really great symbiotic relationship where both of them are sharing content together. So, hey, Frank, you're back.
I'm back, yeah. And I'm going to add you as a co-host just in case anything happens.
Oh, good, okay.
And that'll also enable you to get the instant download of the video.
Oh, cool.
So that you
How do you have me as a co-host? Oh, yeah, right there. Okay, got it.
So it's /co-host space ad space TPL Drew.
Oh, gotcha. That's cool. That's awesome.
Another cool feature of Blab that they've added.
That's very neat. I like those /help functions. Anyway, sorry, I was filling in, just hosting it and asking myself questions.
All right, good. Great. I'll watch it on the replay.
Yeah, exactly. Lori says I was doing fine.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks for sticking with it. Hold on, let me let my cat out here.
I'm glad the cat's
right out the window, so I don't have to get up.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So
I hope you're on the first floor.
It's a good thing we're on the first floor. I've got a table set outside the window, so she goes from the ledge.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So that sounds safe.
Yeah, we made it easy for her.
That's good.
So, talk to me a little bit about the book tour that you did in support of Brandscaping, and then we'll transition to talking about Town Inc.
Yeah, well, Brandscaping being my first marketing book was the book tour was it wasn't really that well formed. I mean, it was much more what speaking gigs came up, and there were a lot of people that read the book. The book did very well, kind of, from a sales standpoint. So there were a lot of people that read the book. They were either executives at companies, or they were running an association, and they would read the book and then say, hey, look, we would like you to come to our conference and preach this kind of brandscaping message straight from the book. And that was a really easy way for me to kind of build a book tour. It wasn't really anything scheduled. So that was great for the new book. So essentially, to be honest, for like the past 2 years, I've been wandering around talking about brandscaping in some form or another. It kind of went from being the first year in 2012 or in 2013, it was like U.S. only. Then it was like U.S. and South America in 2013, 14. And then in 2015, it was like Europe and Asia and Australia. So the book kind of, over the course of 3 years, went around the world. Nice. And that was kind of fun. But essentially, Town Inc. is the new book, and that was a much more organized kind of approach to doing a book tour. I did a month on the road, visited a bunch of cities that were in the book, did a bunch of speaking engagements, like 3 a week, to kind of help promote the concept in the book, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. So,
hey, Lori has a question.
Okay, so what is brandscaping? So why don't you talk about that and watch? Here, wait, before you do, let me show you. So she's got a question. I'm going to answer a question. And now it shows up in one of the boxes.
That's cool. Oh, that's a good feature. So, all right, Lori, I like that. Lori, so brandscaping is essentially a partnership between one or more parties where you're focused on creating content together that drives demand for the products you sell. So a good example would be, let me think of a simple one. If you sold, here, I can give you one from the book. If you sold juicers like Breville, I don't know if you know Breville, they sell like kitchen countertop appliances.
Yeah, I have an Omega juicer.
You have an Omega juicer. Okay, say competitor of theirs, right? Breville decided that they wanted to actually increase demand for juicers because every time they sell juicers, there's a peak, right? Like unless you get more people excited about juicing, you're not going to sell any more juicers than last year. The market size is exactly the same. So what Breville decided to do was partner up with a bunch of people like Whole Foods and a guy named Joe Cross, and they basically created a 90-minute documentary film called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. They'd released the film on Netflix. Did you see it?
Yeah, great movie.
It's a great movie. So they released the movie on Netflix. That increased demand for juicers worldwide. And as a result, not only did Breville sell more juicers, but Omega sold more juicers, and everybody, Ninja sold more blenders. But essentially, the whole size of the market got better. Joe Cross built his own big business. Whole Foods sold more vegetables. Everybody won, but it was focused on creating content together that increased demand for the products you sell. So those three people, Joe Cross, basically Breville and Whole Foods, made the market rise.
So it's about expanding the pie, expanding the market.
Exactly. So like the difference is, hey, Lori, the difference is like stop worrying about market share, like what's your size of the pie, but worry about market size, the size of the market. Can you make the pie bigger itself?
Right.
I like your kitchen, Lori. It looks nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of like living like King Farouk. Even though I'm like generate no income.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, I figure, you're going to spend the money anyway. You may as well spend it on, living the way you want to live.
That's great.
So I live in Park City, Utah.
Oh, nice. Great. That's a great place.
And we're getting hammered with snow. We're going to have 6 feet. We're going to have 6 feet by Christmas.
Wow. Well, great for the skiing industry.
Say again?
Yeah, it is. It's
great for the skiing industry. I'm a big skier, so that's fantastic to know people going to Park City for Christmas.
I was quite a skier too. My husband was actually a judge at the 2002 Winter Olympics for the ski jumping event. Yeah, my husband is. He was in some Warren Miller films. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a city girl, but I love my house because it's basically all glass, and I can sit and just be outside without being outside.
That's nice.
So I want to talk about brandscaping, and I get what you're talking about. I've been a filmmaker for 35 years, so I feel your pain, Andrew. TV is a little different environment, but we all are screaming and yelling about budgets all the time.
Yeah, right. Oh, I worked on a bunch of movies too. In fact, I made a documentary film. It was called Roadside Ambition: The Amazing True Story of One Small Town with a Huge Set of Balls.
Oh, I love that.
So I know the feeling. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, do you know Kurt Thatcher?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Kurt's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I think this last movie that he did for Lifetime, I think, was really good. So,
what's the latest one?
It's he's gonna kill me. I don't remember the name.
Here, I'm gonna look it up right now.
It's Thanksgiving, the Muppets Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it. Yeah. Kirk is such a great guy. He's a talented guy, and he's so friendly.
And he's so friendly, and he's so that's been my world for the last almost 40 years.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. What I did was, it took a couple of years, but I got all my friends in the industry, the makeup people, because that's what I did, makeup and hair.
Yep.
But I'm sure you can tell by how gorgeous I am today. The shoemaker's son wears no shoes.
Hey, look. Yeah, my website's crappy, but I built lots of websites.
Right. There you go. So I strategically got all my makeup people in my friends thing.
Yep.
And then I started. I specifically did this because I was directing, because I knew I was building a product, brand. And the brand that I've built is now called Napoleon's Valet.
Okay.
And what it is it's a men's grooming line.
Oh, smart.
And it's for the luxury end of the market.
Yeah.
Which my audience is by and large European, obviously.
Yeah.
The biggest market for that kind of thing, believe it or not, is Washington, D.C. in the United States.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
Yeah. And Japan and England and those places.
Yeah.
So what I did was to build this brand, I started to friend people who were in like gentleman's bespoke sartorial kind of thing. And
the Kingsman.
Yeah. And so then when I launched, this was after 6 months, a year of just gaining this audience, right?
Yeah.
And then when I launched, I created a Facebook page. It wasn't even a web page.
Nice.
I created a Facebook page just to see what kind of response I would get. And I did pay for some boosting, right? Okay, so no sin there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Write some ads or something.
And I got 65,000 reaches.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, look, this is exactly what brandscaping is about.
All
like
right, so
partnering with the right people to get to the audience. Yeah.
So talk to me. Now, I need to build my U.S. market. So am I still doing the same thing, or is there now a different approach that I have to take? Have I reached the level of incompetence of Facebook? Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think like one of the chapters actually in brandscaping is called "Get Rich, Target a Niche," and like I think the key to leveraging this right anywhere, whether you're going to go after the Japanese market or London itself or Amsterdam or New York or DC,
right.
If you're going after that market, I think the key is to kind of break down the market into 3 key categories. Think about first the digital influencers. Who are the people in Washington, DC, in the online world specifically, that are actually generating content that actually influences the makeup artists even in that market? So I mean, I know I worked in DC a lot, and there's a whole little network, and I'm sure you know them, of makeup artists that are, doing all the politicians and the talk show hosts and those. Like, if you can get those people to be on your side and they're excited about the brand, then they'll influence the consumer at the end of the day, And this is exactly how Max Factor built his brand.
For me, this is going to sound really pretentious, but that's potatoes for me. What I'm thinking of doing, and I'm just going to put it out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the yachting manufacturers, and what I'm going to do is bring this brand to them and say to them, we can create custom-made shaving brushes. They're made in Italy. I mean, this isn't. It's really high-end stuff, and create a kit for them that they can buy for their clients that they can put on their yachts with their logos. And I'm hitting Bentley and Ferrari because I do know people there. I'm hitting Jaguar. I want corporate customers. I don't want, it's nice that, Max from, Hollywood, West Hollywood wants my product, but he's not going to make me rich. And I need a private plane right now.
Right.
Yeah,
so, just if I could chime in for a second, you're right in Park City, okay? And Andrew is also a big believer in power of place.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to tie back into that. So you've got the industry in your backyard. Why not start with the ski industry in Park City and then, Vail and Aspen and that kind of aspirational lifestyle, which,
that's a good one.
You can walk to the ski resorts, I'm
Jackson
sure.
Hole, like
Park City.
Four Seasons,
Skiers aren't shavers. No.
Not when they're skiing, but the people who are coming to Aspen and Vail and Park City.
Well, I think more importantly, I think that they represent corporations that would these are guys, these are high-end executives that go on vacation, right? They come for Sundance, right, Andrew?
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
I mean, I think you're on the right track. I like the idea of partnering with the brands. Like if you were going to brandscape in the truest sense, the approach would be, can you actually, like if you're going after corporate clients, even still, it's the brandscape approach would be, how can I help, the private jet manufacturer or the boat manufacturer, a brand like MJM, sell more boats by actually having my brand on board. But the priority is, how can I help you sell more boats first?
Right.
That would be the approach. And the answer can't just be my shaving brushes
Right.
and my kit on your boat. It can be, hey, I think I can help you. I have an insight into the mind of this market. Here's what it looks like. Oh, and by the way, I think your audience would love my shaving brushes is like the last thing you talk about. But I think it sounds like you've got it figured out. Like I would go after it and dive right in because, there are brands in Boston. I live in Boston, like MJM, which is, their cheapest boat, is like a little day boat for $1 million. Like there's a very exclusive club for that.
I'm going after, one of my friends is the Prince of Dubai. So,
Yeah.
I'm trying to placate to that crowd. And
What's the I want to buy one of these. What's the price? The retail price?
I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at a $1,500 retail price.
Got it. Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sounds great.
Everything is handmade, and it can be. See, like Ferrari, for instance, right? Not everybody can own a Ferrari, but wouldn't they love the Ferrari logo on their?
Yeah, sure. I think they want their initials, but I think you're right.
Right, you're absolutely
you're on the
right.
right track.
Like the Diddy's and the Kanye West,
exactly.
Those guys.
That's right.
It's about ego.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a great idea. Thanks, Lori. This has been fun.
You guys have been great.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much for having all of us. Bye.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I want to touch on something that she said and tie it into, your book, your new book, Town Inc. The power of place. So she's gravitating more toward, the place being, yachts and yacht salesmen. But how would you tie in some of the strategies that you're outlining in Town Inc. with what she's trying to do?
Well, so Town Inc., just to back up for a minute, is all about kind of businesses that market the place they do business more than the business they do. So, if to apply it to what Lori's doing, it would be essentially taking that Napoleon brand and making sure that people know it's from Park City, Utah, as a big piece of the puzzle. Or she said they were manufactured in Italy, so where in Italy specifically, and why is that place add value to it? I can tell you a quick story that's very closely related to what she's going after. But I don't know if you've heard of a brand called Shinola. They make watches, actually. Okay. Really, really nice watches. Their cheapest watch starts at about $500, and they go up from there. But Shinola is a brand that was around for a long time. You might know the phrase, "I don't know shit from Shinola."
Exactly.
So the guy who started Shinola actually started a watch brand in the 1980s called Fossil, which you might know.
Yes.
Fossil became a $30 billion company within a decade, and he essentially left as CEO and started his own little kind of venture-backed company. And when he decided to start Shinola in 2009, he took a while to figure out exactly where he wanted Shinola to be based. And he actually is based in Austin, Texas, just outside of Austin, and San Antonio is where Fossil has 1,300 employees. So it would have made a lot of sense for him to start the business there, right? Like, I've already got these people, I can do it.
Of course.
So what he did was he took pens, and he did some market research, and he took a pen not just like this, but a nice pen. And he took it to people in focus groups and said, hey, look, this pen is made in China. And it retails for $5. Would you buy this pen? And people said, yeah, I'd buy that pen. And then he said, okay, I'm going to add a second pen to it. This pen, which looks very similar, is $10, and it's made in the USA. Which pen do you want to buy, the $5 Chinese pen or the $10 US pen? And most people chose the $5 Chinese pen, okay? Not much of a difference.
Right.
Then he added a third pen. I don't have a third pen that looks the same, but it was very similar.
Right.
And so this pen, he said, this pen is made in Detroit, and it's $15. This one's made in the US, it's $10, and this one's made in China, it's $5. Which one would you buy? Overwhelmingly, people said the $15 Detroit-made pen. and he was shocked.
Wow.
So on this market research alone, he decided that Shinola would be from Detroit. And every one of Shinola's products now says Shinola Detroit, really big on it if you go to their website. And he tapped into this power of place, this location envy, this belief that the fact that pen that looks exactly like the Chinese-made pen is worth more because it's made in Detroit. And that's the key. So Town Ink. is all about how these amazing businesses have focused on marketing the place they do business. Just like Shinola says, we're from Detroit. They've built their business in Detroit. They're making a huge impact, not just in Detroit, but all over the world by selling their products. They've opened up retail stores all over the world. They're selling bikes. They don't just sell watches anymore. They have a huge product line. And it's all because they make it in Detroit, and they've attached that to the brand. So if I was going to give any advice to Lori, it would be, where is your brand from, and how can you leverage the place it's from to imbue a 3 times the markup? So instead of selling them for $1,500, where would these things be from if you were going to sell them for $4,500? And that's the power of a place. So Town Ink's all about. Here's Town Ink. I'm in this rental office for the weekend. It's so nice because my books are right above me. Oh man, we lost Frank. Crap, and I have to go in 1 minute. So, but this has been really, really fun. If Frank comes back, boom. Thanks so much. Hey, 10 Faces 1, Detroit. Go Detroit. Super cheap Legos, logos. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'm sorry we lost Frank. I got to take off. I have a 2:00 appointment I got to make. But have a great, happy holiday, and see you in 2016, everyone. Bye.